Welcome and happy Monday. I know Monday mornings can be really hard to get up and get going, and that's why we do Monday Mindset at this time. It helps me actually get my business going and help me get in the right frame of mind to have a very productive week. I do most of my week from Monday through Wednesday, and then I don't do a whole lot, literally the rest of the week if I can help it. And that's because I'm my freshest then. Today, we are doing our infamous Monday Mindset Hot Seat. So we're doing a member hot seat. And what that is we pick a member from our community, from the Agency Fast Track community, that I feel has either accomplished something really crazy good that I want to share with you, or has had some type of breakthrough. And so today, we're going to talk to Valerie Robinson, who has been in the community for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. And she has really worked hard on her business and changing some things. And if you saw the advert on what we were going to talk about today, Valerie's made one of the biggest mental shifts you can make with your business. And that's to stop trading your time for money. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk to Valerie. We have her on the hot seat. So feel free in the chat to type any questions you might have for Valerie or give her some positive feedback. It can be a little nerve-wracking coming in here and being on this if you've never done it before. So welcome, Valerie. I so appreciate you coming in and talking to us today. Let's start by just introducing yourself and telling us just a little bit about Run Local Marketing and your business.
All right, thank you very much. I'm originally, I don't know how far back to go, but I'm from Missouri originally, and then the hills in southern Missouri. And I just have a solo consulting freelance type business where I built websites. I have it's just me. And I have just like three bigger retainers with a nonprofit and a manufacturing business, and then just some smaller mom and pops. And so I kind of have all across the board. And it's just been a business that I've grown into. I had a 9 to 5 job as a managing editor of a publication uh, in Michigan. And that's what I did. And I really loved it. That's what I went to college for, was to be an editor. And I love magazines. I was really in my element. And then I had my first kid and I decided to quit and stay at home for a few years. And that's when I kind of got into, I originally was consulting as an editor, and people who wrote books would hire me to proofread or copy edit, which is again really time intensive. Definitely just you're getting paid by the hour, or even at times by like the speed that you can read, like by the sentence or that kind of a thing. And so it's definitely it has been a mindset change for me. And I feel like I'm just still in the middle because I have those big clients that don't really fit. Um, they don't really fit the type of business that you work with primarily, right, Lisa? Um, and so it's been really informative for me to work with you, and it has given me a different way to look at things because I am staying at home with my kids. That kid that I quit my first job, just he's starting college and in college now. So I've been doing this for a while now. But I've always just had that mindset of working a dollar, or my get paid for my hours, like you were saying. So anyways, the new mindset, it has been a shift, and so I'm happy to talk about it and just see. But I guess the only other thing I was going to say is that I still have those big retainers. They're still kind of my bread and butter, and I'm kind of straddling the fence in a way, and I need to um I work very limited hours. I work maybe 20 hours a week. A lot of times it's less because one of my kids has a medical challenge of type 1 diabetes, and that is just all over the place. And I have to just be able to drop anything, and it can take hours at a time. And so what I love about what we're going to talk about today is that it gives me a lot of flexibility to be able to have those things that are a higher priority than work. And then, everybody has those things. That's your why. Why are you doing your job? And there's always something higher than just for the privilege of working. So anyway, I'm excited to have the conversation. So I guess I'll just throw it back to you.
Yeah. I mean, I know, as always, when we sit on these hot seats, I know a lot more about the people we're talking to than the audience does, because I've worked with Valerie. I've sat on client calls with Valerie, and as part of the Agency Fast Track family, when you join different programs, you have those one-on-one times with us and the abilities. So one of the things that Valerie and I really started talking about early on was exactly what you heard. So Valerie had clients that basically throw stuff at her and want her to do this particular work or do these tasks, and are paying her basically on an hourly basis. So the mind shift that, we always recommend in the courses are, can you think about a way to take whatever you have existing? So we never say, hey, Valerie, you should just go fire all your clients and find new clients. That doesn't work for people. But how could Valerie, for example, maybe work with somebody else? Could she hire somebody else to work with her, get an assistant, something in order to get those hours done, but she not do them? And yes, you'll probably make a little bit less money because you got to pay, a portion of what you're getting paid out or sublease. But the biggest problem lies, and Valerie, that's what I was going to ask with these particular clients. The biggest problem lies is a lot of times when you begin the relationship with a customer and they hire you as an individual, they feel like they want you. They don't want somebody else. They don't want somebody else you hire. It's very hard to make that transition. So
That's
Valerie,
very true.
are you working on doing that now? Or what is the plan?
Yeah,
Right?
no,
Because you've had the mind shift. So I know Valerie has had that mindset shift to say, listen, I'm not going to hire any more. I'm not going to get any more customers like that. What are you doing
right.
with the existing customers you have?
Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't take a new customer that is a nonprofit like this, where I work like that. And so I feel like there's a two-part component. There's deciding who you're going to take new, and then there's how do I educate and can I shift the relationship with my previous customers or clients. And one way that I've done that is marketing, is my branding. I changed my business name, and so I had them all change, and now they email me at the old business. I'm sorry, at the new business name. So I went from a consulting in my business name. I was a consultant, and that was my business name, to run local marketing. And that's a really big difference. And so that's part of how I'm helping them to change how they see me and to realize there may be times where they work with other people. And one of my clients, I did this a couple of years ago, is I do have somebody else that does some project management for me. She's kind of narrow, so it's only for specific things, but I took her with me, and this was an in-person client, so I could take her with me to meetings physically. And now they know that she'll be doing some of the tasks, and that's helped a lot too. So I haven't yet found anybody who can replace me and do some of the technical things. So I feel like I'm a work in progress. I'm kind of in the middle still, but I've definitely made intentional moves to shift that mindset. And
I mean, I think that's a great way to say it, that after you have your mindset shift, now you've got to go back to, if you want to keep existing clients, you have to go back to them and help them have that mindset shift as well. I went through the same thing with Portside Marketing, right? I went through the exact same thing because everyone came to Lisa. Lisa was the only person.
Yeah, and they have an emotional bond, and
Right.
and my original philosophy was to cultivate that. That's what I wanted because that was my way to make sure that they came back to me, right? I'm not a commodity. I can charge more now, and I don't have to compete with somebody overseas who can charge a lot less because they're not me. And so it's very much around me personally, and I wanted that. And so in a way, this has been a shift of back, so that they know they get me, but it's a bit of a balance. I'd be interested in hearing, how you approach that. That's something that you want to get into, Lisa, but you want them
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
connected to you, but you still need them to know that other people are involved also.
yeah, and I think the only thing that I remember, it's been a while for me making the shift, but I remember there were customers were just nervous, right? They were nervous that the level of service would change or the level of access. And I think that's all customers really care about, right? They don't care who gets the work done. But as solopreneurs, when we first start, we are very responsive. We are Johnny on the spot, calling them back. As we grow in our business and get more customers and start having to manage all that, if we want to make more money and we want to grow, we have to hire people. I think that's their biggest concern, that you won't be as responsive. And, oh, well, they used to call me back same day, and now I'm afraid it's going to take 2 or 3 days. So I think if you manage those expectations up front, it's the same in sales. So sales and customer, relationships, I think have the same aspect in the sense that we just have to let them know up front what to expect, and then they feel better. Right. So I remember when I brought my project manager on, I had to make that transition. I had to help customers understand that, new customers, it's always easy, right? With new customers, you set that expectation
It
up
is
front.
way easier. Yeah.
But you have to go back to those previous existing customers and say, hey, so, as the business grows, I'm kind of shifting my role. You still can call me, talk to me anytime you want. However, and the way I tended to say it to them was, for a faster, better response, you really should contact Christine because, I'm just not going to be able to be as responsive as I used to be. And so I recognized that, and I decided to bring someone in to keep, the level of services I've always given to you guys. That put it more as a, hey, I wish I could keep up. I can't keep up. They get it. They're business owners. They want that same thing for their business. And by the way, I'm doing this for you, right?
Mhm.
Not for me.
Yeah.
We don't want to say, hey, well, I want to go on vacation more. So instead, we kind of shift the focus into, hey, this is for you. And that has seemed to work very well for me. Very well for me. So, and there's something I do want to talk about. I do want to get into, because this to me was one of the reasons why I felt you'd make a great hot seat. So as you go out and you get new customers and you start, I'll say, romancing some of the new people you want to work with, the mindset, the mind shift change that you've had previously, and we all do this, by the way, you probably would have taken anybody who came along because money's money, right?
Right. Yeah.
How do you feel now about that?
Well, it's been a combination of factors, but just the time and business that I've had has taught me that not everybody is a good client. And that you talk a lot about that some, we've all been in that place. I think I've heard this across all kinds of message boards, like graphic designers love to talk about the client from hell who just asks for unlimited revisions and they're never happy and you can never mind read what they have in mind, and so they're not a good client. And so that's been something I've been trying to figure out for a long time, is going forward, it's the training that you've given has been super helpful in the way that you've talked a lot about sales, and that's been really helpful because you talked about being intentional, and I feel like I'm just turning the corner into starting this, but I don't want to work with everybody. And because now I have some real practical tools and advice on sales, I feel like I can pick who I want, like what niche I want, and even the people within that. And I can say, no, I can tell already this isn't going to be good. Or, you're not going to be happy. Like the one client that you and I worked on together, we ended up deciding that he wasn't going to ever be happy. And I pretty much told him that. And we walked away from a nice SEO retainer, and he was pretty eager. I think we could have gotten that one if we wanted it, but it just became clear that, because I feel like, excuse me, I feel like I can choose now who do I want to work with, then I don't have to just say yes to that demanding client who's never going to be happy with, access. He wanted access to Lisa or to me directly and just wasn't really being realistic. And so, yeah, it's changed a lot that way.
Yeah, and just for reference, so everyone kind of knows the backstory. So
Yeah.
Valerie decided to use one of her one-on-one sessions she got with a course she bought to have me meet with a client. And together we pitched the client. I feel like he was way interested, but there were so many red flags that I was seeing, and I helped Valerie see those red flags. So we'd get off the call with the client, and then we'd have a conversation. And, it was a great experience. I love doing it with Valerie because sometimes you cannot see the path in front of you because you're blinded with what you want versus what you need, right?
Yeah.
We want easy clients, but we need money. And so we tend to make decisions that aren't the best when we need money. I still do it today. I think we'll always do those types of things. If there's some reason I need money, I tend to make poor decisions. So learning to separate those two is really important, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So Valerie actually, I think we met with this fella 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it was multiple times.
So to me, it's not wasted money. On my side, I was, being a mentor, being a coach. I was doing what I felt good about. But for Valerie, it was a really, really powerful learning experience because she won't even go this far again. So you
No.
have to go down that road the first
Yeah.
time to see all the red flags and understand that this person's just going to waste your time. And in the end, yes, Valerie's right. We could have closed this guy, could have easily closed this guy, but I think he would have stayed maybe 2 or 3 months. If we got lucky, 6, but it would have been pure hell. It would have been one of those clients that called you every week asking, what the heck. I think he would have even been kind of a belligerent client because I've seen it before to where I'm paying you, so you owe me. And, Valerie, which very proud of you, Valerie. Valerie literally just said to him, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. And she did it very, for lack of better words, very maturely, like a very mature business. Like, this is just not a good business decision for me. Sorry, we're going to have to pass. He had no response. I don't think he even, did he ever respond to you?
Well, actually, he is a hosting client and he still pays me for hosting. So he does occasionally call me when he wants something minor changed on his website. And that's it though, nothing else. And he didn't really retaliate. And he was very belligerent in a way, just kind of a combative demeanor. And that would have been fine. I mean, Lisa and I can handle that, but do we want to handle that is the question.
Exactly.
So
yeah, you remember, I don't care how many people you hire, how many contractors you have, you still have a finite number of hours to fill with the people you have on board. We want to fill those people with, the best scenario of clients. And so getting back to what I really want to talk about today, that mind shift change when you have it, when you think about now I want to go forward in my business, at some point, Valerie, you're going to have to make a decision, right? Because knowing you're doing 20 hours a week and the clients you have now pretty much fill
It's close. Yeah.
those 20 hours a week. How are you feeling? Like, what do you think you're going to do to make that shift? Because I work on at least my agency less than that. And it was a big shift. It was a huge shift for me to make and to get out of the, hey, look, I'm not the person, because some of my identity, and I think you kind of touched on that. Some of my identity in the beginning was the fact that everyone loved me and everyone wanted me. That doesn't feel bad. And
No, it's
now
good
my
business,
clients
right?
love
'Cause they'll stay.
Christine and they want
Yeah.
Christine. And that's a little different because you've got to deal with that, hey, you're not the hero anymore.
I'm just working. I feel like, and this might just be my personality and my personal approach, is I'm working on understanding specific specific approaches, if that makes sense. Like, I'm working on a process, I guess is the right word. I'm working on my process right now. So I feel like I'm biding my time a little bit until I have more time, because I just got, because I've been working with these people for so long, they have some projects that have been in process for like 4 years. And so it is my identity that I don't leave things half done, like I will see those through. So that's not really an option to jump right now. And I'm very much committed to seeing some of that stuff through. And these are on top of my retainer. So I have, with both of my big clients, like one just wanted another website for $4,000. And so that's a pretty good thing, but it's going to tie me up because I don't have that much resources, and I don't have like Lisa was talking about, ideally I'd have other staff that I don't have in place right now. And so that's what I'm working on right now while I'm waiting. I'm doing those things. They have a time frame, I'm setting the time frame. So I still feel very much in control. I know when they're going to end. I know these are good clients that I'm happy with, in contrast to the other ones, that I don't want to work with. These are ones I do want to work with and have been really good. And I do feel like there's some kind of a pathway forward for me. And so while I'm doing these other things, I feel like I am still moving forward because I'm wrapping up these things that have been in process for years. And I already know that I'm not going to take on new clients like this. And so my workload will go down afterwards with these people. And so in the meantime, I am working on the process. I'm working, Lisa, I don't know if you talked a lot on here about your time buckets, but I do bucket a little bit of time every week to keep working on what's my niche going to be. And so that when these projects end, my goal is that I will already have the methods, even the copy written, to be able to go after my new niche, my new sort of SaaS business model, and bring on people that pay me sort of like hosting, but just monthly, where I don't work hours for dollars. And so I'm working proactively on that now, even though, but it's mostly just to lay the groundwork so that when, like around the new year, when those other long-term projects go back down, I will be able to hit the road running. And I've been doing the work on High Level to learn exactly how that works and what my options are with High Level, to offer a recurring software model where I bill for that instead of my time. I don't know how much you want to get into that, but
yeah, we can unpack everything. Normally on a Monday Mindset, we go short, but when we do member hot seats, we go as long as we need. There's special sessions because we're having a conversation. It's definitely a little bit more interactive. So if you guys have questions or comments, do put them in the chat. And so what I'm hearing, Valerie, which, I think is a great approach, is we all have commitments. We all have things that we set out. And of course, a good business owner would never leave a client, especially a long time client, in the lurch. You're going to finish what you promised. At the same time, you're working on your business.
Absolutely.
And so Valerie mentioned time bucketing. So if you're new to the community, in our X Success course, I teach quite a bit around, managing your time appropriately. And before we started this call, Valerie and I were on the Zoom getting ready to start the call. And I had mentioned to Valerie, this is the 65th Monday Mindset. So literally I've done this 65 times in the last 67 weeks. I've only missed 2 weeks. And even last week I had a guest come in and do it for me. I do that because I do bucket my time. I know exactly when I'll get them ready. I know exactly, everything about my world is very staged and planned. It sounds oppressive, but it's really freeing because I know I'm going to get all my things done. I never worry about time anymore, whereas I used to really struggle with time. And so just to help those listening, a time bucket is very simple. Valerie is saying that no matter what's going on every week, I have one slot of time, no matter what, I've reserved to work on this thing called helping my business move forward, or whatever it is she wants to work on. That's paramount. We'll never go from a mind shift change to a physical business change if we don't bucket some time to do so, right? It's kind of like when you quit your job. You can't just quit your job and not have everything in place to get going on the other side, or you're going to be hurting for money. So Valerie's considering her old business, the consulting business, the job she's trying to quit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, she can't quit it until she gets some things in order. So I think that's important. That's one of the reasons why I thought you would make a great hot seat, because a lot of times we bring people on here who've got it all figured out and they've made tons of money and everything's going great and it's all hunky-dory. But most people don't want to come talk to us until they feel better. And you were okay. You're like, no, I am where I am and I'm okay talking about it, because it's this middle time period that's the hardest in any business. Right.
I think it's common though. I think
very common going from it's just me. And now I've got to go to, how do I figure this out in a way that's, and it might still be just you. Remember with software as a service, Valerie alluded to SaaS. I am definitely getting heavily into SaaS because it doesn't take as many people. It's much, I don't think you could scale it and have no people. But in contrast of me having anywhere from 15 to 20 or more contractors at a time with Portside on the SaaS side of things, I might be able to get away with 1 or 2 people helping me. That means there's just a lot more profit and a lot less time managing people. I'm all for that. How do we make that transition? And that's really, today's topic, right? Stop trading your time for money. And so when you think January 1, Valerie, so you've got this plan, you've said, hey, I'm going to get all my stuff finished up. What's the new mindset? What would you say is the mindset of, I'm no longer going to trade time for money? So what's your plan?
Well, right now I'm trying to lay the groundwork, like I was saying. So January 1st, I'm really hoping I will have already sent out some cold messaging and some sales. It's all new to me. I'm a good writer, but I don't have any practice even thinking about how to write cold emails, that type of I can do an in-person sales because I've been doing that. I have experience. I'm really good at that. But this is really different for me. And so I feel like I'm doing a lot of learning right now. And just jumping in the pool, right? Without knowing what I'm doing, essentially. That's been something that Lisa and Colin have talked a lot about, and Danny. Just giving it a shot before you feel like because I like I'm a researcher, right? My background's in English and editing. You write a book by planning it all out ahead of time. And then, you go through all of the preparation and the editing, and then you send it out. Like you don't flip it around and just throw it out there before you've really thought it all through and done all your research and stuff. So my goal, I guess, on January 1st is to have learned enough to try one niche and have one really good solid offering. And I have been learning and doing, like, working with Lisa is the research that I'm doing, as if I was writing a book. Learning techniques on how to write, and even the process of how to pick a niche and who do you want that, I'm going after those ideal customers, like we just talked about, and who are they going to be, and it's not going to just be anybody. It's going to be somebody that I want to work with and I have some background knowledge on, that kind of thing. So by January 1st, yeah, I'm hoping that I've picked that niche and I'm working towards that and I'm ready to go. And then my old clients, I'm planning on keeping them on the retainer. I've done that before, as long as I don't have really big new websites, like I was saying, big coding projects. I've got another really big coding project. Like I said, it's been in process since before I even knew about Agency Fast Track. But I won't, even with them, I'm planning on not taking on much more that I can't subcontract out. So
And I think
that's what I'm really
key,
hoping
right?
for.
You're shifting to I either have to find someone to do the hours,
Yeah.
or I have to start turning down the hours.
Yeah.
And it's a scary process. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little bit, but I mean, that I've been working on for a while, a couple of years at least. So it was scary, but I feel so much further down the road on that because I have my branding. I got an address. So I have an address, I have a website now for my new business. All those things were not in place a couple of years ago. So I feel pretty like these techniques have given me a lot of clarity on what I wanted my new business to be centered on, and the niche for my new business. And I feel like that's all in place now. So I feel like I am in the middle. I've done quite a bit, but I have quite a bit ahead of me. And so it is a messy middle, but I have clarity. And
I love that. It's a messy middle, but isn't it always, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people love to hear that, because as we make these shifts, so you think about someone like me who's got a hugely successful business. I am in the middle of a huge shift in my business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, does that ever stop, really?
It doesn't. It's the great thing about business is where we start and where we end up are so different, because as we learn, even me, who I thought I knew everything, right? And then I meet Danny Rios, and Danny changes everything I ever thought to be true. If somebody would have asked me 2 years ago what I was going to do until I retire, it was exactly what I was doing, because I had it figured out.
Pieces in place. Yeah.
Had it figured out. Everything was working. But I still had this struggle with SEO as a service. It's not sexy. It's hard to sell. It's hard to do. It's the constant customers always complaining and asking, and it wasn't the perfect business. And here comes Danny in my world, who just makes a couple statements and just turns me upside down. Like, oh, okay, well, you can go ahead and be the SEO. I used to be that. Instead, I'm over here being the conversion expert, and now I'm the hero. And I'm
right.
And at first, I even, like everyone does. So if you're listening and you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to change, neither did I. In fact, I was very combative. If it wasn't for Colin, Danny and I wouldn't have met. Colin sits in the middle, and literally I was combative with Danny. Like our first live meeting in Dallas, they flew in here. We holed up in my office for a few days. I was kind of a jerk to him. I mean, I look back and he laughs about it now, but I was kind of like, you're stupid, kind of attitude. But he just kept, just like I do to you guys, he was sharing his truth. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought, you're right. Like everything's working for me, but God, this is even a better mousetrap. And it would give me even more freedom. And it would give it would give not just me more happiness, but then I started looking at what my team does, and they would like this business better, right? Because I still need all the players that are on my team. They would just be doing things in a different way. So everything looked different. And there, all of a sudden, I sat in the same exact place where Valerie is today, right? I am making a major shift in my business, in my mindset, and making these major changes. I'm not getting rid of my old customers because
But you're getting new ones in new sectors that you never thought you were going to go after.
same thing.
Yeah.
I'm walking the path with you guys as you guys make. And so if you don't know this, if you have no clue what we're talking about, I'm transitioning to a SaaS model to where, yes, I'm going to keep my old customers, but I'm not really looking for new SEO customers. I'm not looking for the old style of customer. I'm looking for a new style of customer. Now, if that happens to bring me more SEO, I wouldn't turn it down, because now I have that one missing piece with SEO. So before, when I just had SEO clients, I got them traffic, but once I got the traffic, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, because if they don't convert, they are up my butt all the time asking me, well, I don't got no more money. Once I help them convert, all of a sudden, I'm the hero. They don't even care about the SEO. Like, oh, that's a necessary evil, but now you're making me money with the conversion. So it was definitely a new paradigm shift for me as well.
Well, and you are doing the same thing. You're keeping your previous customers that are in a different business model, essentially. They're in a different silo, and you're working and transitioning into something new. It does overlap, just like mine overlaps. In fact, my first SaaS customers have all been my previous and current customers.
Mine as well.
So I mean, I haven't really needed to branch out and find new ones. And so I've really appreciated the clarity that I can go find, because that is now my next step, right? I've introduced the SaaS offerings to my previous customers, and I rebranded myself, and I figured out what my new business niche is going to be. So I've put all those pieces into place. And the very next step then, and for me in the start of the new year, will be to go find new customers for the SaaS software, and the conversion, like you're talking about, the conversion offering. And so now I feel like I know where I'm going, and I'm figuring out in the middle and looking forward towards that, figuring out how to get there, but I know where I'm going at least. And so it does feel good.
Yeah, because we only have so many hours, and while I already had the time, figured out, right? I don't trade time for money. That's definitely not me. I still
you already knew that.
I already knew that, but the time I was spending, I wasn't the happiest with that time. It wasn't. So in my business, I started becoming when clients are pissed off, they come to me, or when clients are unhappy, they come to me, or, I wasn't working a lot of hours in my business, but the hours I was working, I wasn't enjoying, the level of what I had to do. And it's just interesting to me how we, as business owners, continue to evolve, right? And when I look at all the people coming through our programs and the people in our community, we all go through the same. It's almost like we all start as the worm going to the larva, and then we become the butterfly. And like, we have the same problems, the same issues, the same transitions, the same stages. So it's just, I just happen to be ahead on those things, but they're no easier for me and no better for me. They still stink to have to go through some of that stuff. So when you think about your new customer and you think about your new business, what excites you the most about where you are today and where you'll be tomorrow?
If I do it right, this is my goal, is to have something that really makes a difference for them. You're talking about you're the hero, but that sounds kind of self-interested, right? Like, yeah, you could say that way, but my goal is to just, what I want to feel inside is them, and, knowing that I helped them in their business get customers. I want to do that. I want to do whatever that thing is that converts those people and really moves the dial for them. Because like you're saying, even you build a website, so I have a great sales conversation. We build the website and they're super excited. And the more excited they are and the more happy they are with what you did for them at that point, the more they have a letdown with what's next. Like, now what? That now what question? Okay, I have this shiny new website, but who's going to see it? What's it going to do for my business? How is it going to help me? And I would just be like, go find somebody. Good luck. Like, I don't know. That's not my problem. My problem was to give you this shiny thing you're super excited about. And it always felt a little unsatisfying, where, yeah, they're happy with you, but you left them with this big now what question. And I did not know the answer to that question, or I would have helped them. And so my goal is to be able to answer that question and be part of the answer to them finding out what is next,
Yeah. And being an SEO, to be quite frank, is one of the hardest things you could ever choose to be. I don't think people realize outside of our community how difficult of a task it is to continue to optimize something that's an ever moving target. Google continues to make it tougher and tougher and tougher. So I think my biggest aha was when Danny said to me, why do I need to be the schmuck who gets him the traffic? Let somebody else do that.
Yeah, because they're going to hate that person.
Yeah, I'm going to be the hero. And, I hate
Yeah.
to use the word hero again after you said that, but still, he said, I'm going to be the hero because I'm going to come in and take the traffic they're getting and capture it and keep it and convert it. And that was when I had my aha that, yeah, I mean, in the end, that's what we're all trying to be, fulfilled. So I like your word of fulfilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah,
do
I mean,
this,
who doesn't want to just make a difference?
right? We want people
tangible
to love us and love what we do and love, what we've done for them, but to watch, I get it here. I get it in the AFT community, right? I make a difference, but with my customers, I made a difference occasionally. So I like the idea. I like how you frame that we'll make a bigger difference more often. Because you're right, that shiny new website. I literally had a reminder this week of a customer who came to us and he pitched us and told us, this is what I want to build, and this is what I want to do. And at the time, I didn't have the courage. That's all I can say now is I didn't have the courage to tell the guy, this is a really bad idea. You shouldn't do this. It is a waste of your time and money. Instead, I took the money, built the shiny new website that I knew would never, ever succeed because he was competing against Amazon. Like, he felt like he could build a website and sell in a market that he couldn't. Shame on me for doing it. But I'm sure at the time, I needed the money and he was willing to pay it. With conversion marketing, it's just there's never a bad situation like that. Like, you're either going to be able to help them or not. And it's pretty clean cut. It's not someone coming to you and say, I want this widget. And you go, okay, let me give them what they want. And I think it's easier to have people make those decisions for you. And this is a weird thing to say, but I think Christine would have been more apt to turn him down than me, because she doesn't have skin in the I need to pay the bills game, right? Whereas I've got skin in the I need to pay the bills game. So I would tend to take on work that, say, if you had a project manager or if you had a salesperson selling, that really had some good character, they might have said no. I thought it, I just never said it out loud. I'm not proud of that moment. And the guy didn't. He lasted about a year and, he went out of business. But, we can't always be the hero, but I'd rather put myself in a position to be that more often than not.
Yeah, and that's just another way of saying you're part of their success.
Exactly.
It's not about you. The only thing that's about you is that you were part of helping them. And so it is really about them. And I just, that's what I'm working toward. It is a messy middle because I'm still, like, we've talked about the things that we have clarity on, but I still have a ton of questions on how to do the conversion marketing and what does that mean? And how do I explain to the businesses what it is that I can do for them, you know? So I'm still in
Yeah.
it, and I'm still gonna be coming to the classes like everybody else.
And the good news
gotta
is,
learn it.
Valerie, we are going back and we are adding more sales training. We're adding more everything, because we're learning more as we go as well. And as I learn more, I always add on. And the thing I'll say is this: no matter what we do in our businesses, we have to remember, and this is something that Valerie went through our training and she picked up on pretty quickly. You can't work in your business. That is a recipe for trading your job for another job, except now you've got a job and you're the boss. So not only do you have to do the work, now you've got to do all the paperwork and all the billing and the collecting. You just created a second job for yourself. So as a business owner, you have to be a business owner. And you can't do the work, right? You can't be the job. When you do that, you're not only trading time for money, but I guarantee you the amount of money you're getting is less than what you would normally work for. Did you find that to be the case, Valerie, that you would take on a project from these customers and were you getting your hourly rate, or did you tend to put in more? If you consider everything you had to do, would you say you put in more than what you were getting paid for?
No, I think you're exactly right. And now the difference is I'm choosy, even with these projects that I was already committed to. I don't take them, like I change them around, right? I am the business owner. So even with my existing clients and my current commitments, I don't take a project that I'm not going to make really good money on, and it will be worth my time. Or I won't. I'll hire it out, or I'll do something else. I will not work for $5 an hour or $10 an hour. It's not worth it. And it's not worth the mental and emotional stress that comes with that. And so like with this new website, I said was $4,000. I'll be making good money on that so that I don't resent the time that I'm spending on it. It's still not the ideal where that you're talking about, where I would have somebody like Christine who can just take it and I'm truly the business owner. But the only reason I did it is I was able to frame it in a way that it still worked to my benefit. So
and you're also trying not to stay in that business either, right? So you're not trying to stay a web developer as a main source of income. So it doesn't even make sense right now for you to go hire a bunch of web people. You're not going to continue to go after websites.
So I mean, I got to figure that out. But absolutely, it doesn't really make sense. That is one thing I'm trying to figure out right now.
Well, keep in mind too, and something I'll mention, a lot of you guys are, I'm looking at the names who's attending. And then if you're watching the replay, a lot of you guys are already in the community. You've already taken programs from us. You always have that opportunity, remember, to have us white label stuff for you. So if you've got a $4,000 website and we have a discussion on it, and we would be willing to do it for $2,000 because we have the staff to do that, then you're making $2,000 to do absolutely nothing.
And I did do that. As I'll mention, I use Lisa because I have another, website and for a previous client that I haven't even mentioned, and I don't even think about it because Lisa's staff is who I hired to do that. And I don't really think about it much. And it's been really nice because it has freed me up completely in the way that Lisa's talking about. It was just something that fit really well for a white label. And it's been amazing. And it's given me a lot of confidence that I am moving towards the right business model where I hire this out. And now, because it would have been a total waste of my time to do that one myself.
That's how we have to think, right? Now, I'm not getting out of my traditional business only because it's running so smoothly. I have everything in place. I will continue to do web design and that side of the house. It's the SEO where I'm kind of, we're not jumping around trying to get a bunch more SEO. If it falls in our lap, we typically, if it's a good fit, we take it, but I'm not intentionally going out and finding SEO clients. Websites are different. I still love doing websites. Christine loves doing them. Our team loves doing them. So we still do those. You have to figure out what's right for your business. But because and it's funny you say this and it's funny we're doing this today. I was literally at an event last night. So I was at a friend's house drinking, sitting around watching football. And they had just asked literally out of the blue, like, do you guys do the work like in your company? And it was the first time I'd been asked that in a long time. And I said, I used to build every website. I used to do every bit of the SEO. And over time, I brought on people to do it for me. And now it's very rare I do anything on those projects. It did make me realize, which is fitting for today, that I have stopped trading like 100% my time for money. I just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you probably wouldn't have been able to do AFT at all if you were
No.
still doing that, right? Like, think of all of the things that it opens up when you can do that.
And
And
that's
it-
called opportunity cost, by the way. We teach that in the Agency Fast Track course. Opportunity cost is when if somebody's going to pay you $100 an hour and you have someone who can pay $35 an hour to do it, you have not only made money without doing anything, but you've taken back time. And that
and you
time
can
is
do
worth,
new things.
yeah, the time is worth more than the $65. So yeah, I made $65
Yeah.
and maybe I had to sell it. So that's where my $65 comes from. But the 20 hours, I don't have to do that work now. I now have 20 hours to go create more opportunity. Agency Fast Track's a good example. And technically we're considering Local Remix, which is our SaaS company. We're considering that a third company. You're right, Valerie. I would never had the time to do these things. And the position that I hired that made this all possible was the project manager, because that's the position that took time from me.
Right. That's what you were doing the most of. Yeah.
Talking to the clients, the back and forth.
Yeah. That's that missing piece that I don't have yet.
Did the web developer get this done? Did the artist get that done?
Yeah.
And it's a pivotal piece. But now I've run into the same, interestingly, I have run into, and you guys will see this as well. I've run into the problem that my project manager is now getting over, like we have too much work for her, and we've had to figure that out and move some pieces, because if I couldn't do it in 40 hours, eventually, if she took everything off me, she can't do it in 40 hours either. So, it's a never ending, what's the word for it? Conundrum. I don't know what to call it, but you're never going to stop reinventing yourself or your business if you want to maximize your profits, make more money, and work less time in your business, which is my goal. In 2023, you are going to hear Agency Fast Track take a major paradigm shift, and we're going to talk a ton about freedom business, freedom lifestyle, because I have achieved that, and every day I'm achieving it more and more and more. And I got to tell you, this is the way to run businesses, right? To be able to go to Disney World, which I was at last week, and unplug. Like, I was unplugged. Like, the computer came out once or twice for like 10 minutes. I left my phone in the safe in the room. I didn't even take it. That is what our goals are. And yeah, I can't do that every week, but I can do it, 10, 12 weeks a year. I'm a happy girl. That's my goal. So that's what we're going to be focusing on next year. And so, Valerie, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us, because the idea of trading time for money, dollars for hours, it's a recipe for overwork and burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It feels good the first year or two you do it. Man, I got this business. I'm successful.
And clients
quit
love
my
you.
job.
Yeah.
But 3, 4, 5 years in, you feel like you've made a huge mistake, or at least I did. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but I got to a point where I'm like, oh my God, I've made a big mistake. I threw away a corporate career for this. But it wasn't. I just had to get my bearings and say, I'm doing it wrong. That's why.
And these are good techniques and skills that will allow you to adapt and have clarity when you're in the messy middle. Like, I guess I feel like there's a ton of value in what you're teaching, because like if you are a good business owner, you will be evolving, and you are, Lisa, in the middle of a change too, and you jumped on it, and you were able to jump on it because you were following the same principles, and you had already stopped doing the work in your business, and running your business allowed you, and the bucketing of time and all these different concepts come together to allow you to be adaptable, and you should be, right? So I guess in a way, I don't know if I'm just patting or giving myself company when I say this, but maybe we're all in the messy middle, or we should be some if we're evolving, and this gives us good techniques for having clarity
Just
while
make
we're
sure.
doing that.
I love the messy middle. I'm going to steal that if you don't mind. I'll give you credit every time I do. But don't forget, when you get out of the messy middle, to enjoy, the calm and clarity for a little while before you jump back into another messy middle. I did ride a wave for the last 3 years of comfort. And,
That sounds great.
yeah, for the last 3 or 4 years, I rode this wave of comfort. And it wasn't until Mr. Danny Rios, that big lug, came in and literally put me back in the messy middle again. But I was ready for it, because I had that time of peace and vacations and taking time back and living my life again and remembering why I do all this, to where when Danny did come and do this to me, instead of being, it was, oh, I'm excited because I'm going to go to the next level, right? I'm going to even level up even more, of working even less for more. And, but do enjoy some time. I wouldn't want us to stay in the messy middle always. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be there forever, but you also don't want to get stuck in that comfort. I was pretty stuck in my comfort zone, and it was time to get unstuck a little bit. So Agency Fast Track is probably, if anyone asked me today what I'm most proud of, it's Agency Fast Track and not my agency, which is weird to even say, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Valerie, because I feel like I've made the most impact in that business. I feel like I've changed people's lives with Agency Fast Track. I don't feel like I did that as much with Portside. So I love that Local Remix might be the culmination of both of those, to where now I really do change the lives of customers as well. So great place to end. This has been awesome. I will keep this at an hour. Man, good conversation. I think we could talk another hour and have great conversation. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you, kind of just sharing and being open, because sometimes that's hard to do, to admit that, hey, I'm still a hot mess, or in that messy middle. But aren't we all, right? Aren't we all at some stage? So we can't be embarrassed about it. We have to come together as a community. And, Agency Fast Track was born in COVID because I didn't feel like we had an honest, true community where people were trying to help each other and thrive together, instead of, compete against each other. Because there's no need to even do that, man. The world is big enough for all of us to be in together. So, Valerie, parting words. If you had somebody right now who's listening to this and saying, man, I am trading my time for money and it is eating my lunch, what would be your parting words? What is the last thing, you want to say? What would you say to them?
To that person, I would just say that that they could take comfort in knowing there are specific concepts. Like, even forget the rah-rah motivational stuff. There's concrete, specific things that you can do to move you forward and to make real change. And that's what I've learned, I guess, through this process. Is just, it's all good. There's stuff that you can do, and it'll make a difference and get you through that. So
awesome. Well, we appreciate you, Valerie. Thank you for sharing your time and your experience with us. If anyone has questions for Valerie, this is going to get posted in our YouTube channel, and you can always jump in there and make some comments. You know, see if she'll answer. I know I always answer. But if you do have questions, let us know. As always, come back here every single Monday. Come here to get motivated, to get inspired, but most importantly, to get yourself on the fast track, right? Mondays are our first day of the week. It's the day we should get as much done as possible, because by the end of the week, we're just simply exhausted, right? No matter what we do. So I appreciate you, Valerie. Thank you again
Thank you.
for coming and sharing. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this community. And we will see you again next week. Thanks, everyone.